Hey, it's Joe Glines, and I had a question about some of my site preferences from Blue Deep, and I thought I'd go ahead and walk through my Scite User Properties. So if you're not also familiar with this in Scite, if you come up here under Options and you go to Open User Properties, there's also there's the global properties. There's some other properties, and these, generally speaking, you shouldn't be playing with, right? What you want to do is customize, generally speaking, is customize your user properties file. This will get applied last. I think the global properties, after all the other ones get applied, I think it's the global properties happens next, and then the user properties happens last. And this is what will tie it just to your instance and not affect all the other stuff. So, initially I was going to go through and just highlight, because I have, let's see how long my user properties file is. It's 537 lines. A lot of it's comments, but most people have like maybe 10 lines probably to start with. You probably have something with the importing maybe of a couple languages, other than I think these are the default. I've added a lot of other ones. In here, the other thing that I don't want to get into in this video, but what I've done is I've created a site variable that's in my Windows settings, and then I tell it, okay, go. Then I point to that site. It will default to the site home directory, and then in my directory, this is where I have it on my computer, is under this whole path here, blah blah blah, bprogs, install files, site install, site custom. Then I have a properties folder, and under that properties folder is where I have the roughly 70, because there's a zip file that has all of them. I just keep it as a backup, but the 70 different properties file for different languages that you can configure Scite. I'm using the Scite for Autohotkey, but you can configure it to play with those other languages as well, which is one of the things I love about Scite, is the flexibility to have so many other languages that you can have the IntelliSense for and highlighting. So here I import HTML, SQL, Python. I wrote one that's SPSS, doesn't quite work, but it's okay. I haven't been using it much lately anyway. And then I start going in and I say, okay, so this first one, and here I'm going to make this file available so you can download and look at it. That's why I wanted to clarify. These settings won't be the same as yours, right? You probably just put import HTML, because I doubt you've changed your default directory for where it's going to look. The way this one's done. I don't know if it needs to underscore anything or not. You might try that. But here, this under language, see how this list, let me see if I can get a screenshot of this. This list, see how it lines up with these? And this is telling it, if you read all the notes in here, it's telling it the abbreviation, the extensions, I believe, to apply, and I think you can have more than one if you want. I thought I had an example here, but maybe not. That when it sees that extension, it'll automatically use that IntelliSense. And here, if you put an ampersand next to the letter, it'll, you can't see it because there, I'm not in it, but if I come back here and I hit my Alt, A-L, see the underline, jumped off it, see like the P, and here it's the Q, and that's because I put that ampersand next to the Q. So that's how you can make it basically similar to a hotkey, right, to automatically jump to those options. So even though this knows it's a user property file, I could tell it it's a different one. And so if the extension didn't match it, I can come in here and choose it, but this way it'll default pick the right one. This next one, I've taken this out because I actually had an issue with this, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back in there. So I'm not sure what it is. I'll go back and fix it. I tried it once and it worked, and I thought I was good, but it didn't. I had other issues. Uh-oh. Undo. Let me cut this and paste. Okay. So what I did, and here you can go look up a lot of the commands that you can use. And here I've built in hotkeys. So Control-Shift-Right is going to switch the pane. Let me see if and when the pane, it means this output pane. So if I'm up here and I hit Control-Shift-R. Oh, looks like that's actually got something else right now associated. Control-Shift-L. Wow, that did something else entirely. Okay, well I know this this one does work. Let me open up a Word window and bring it over here. If I come in here and highlight this, and I gotta save it first. Hopefully this will now work. And now if I hit Control Alt C, and copy, now when I go to Word and hit paste, I had the problem is I have some other scripts running. Let me try it again. Control Alt C, paste. Yeah, so maybe, and I don't think I have to reload this, but let me go ahead and close it just to be sure, and reopen SciTE, bring it over. Control Alt C, and paste. There we go. So notice I got the rich text format, right? And of course I could have come up here, highlighted what I wanted, and come up here and said Edit, Copy as RTF. I don't understand why, to me, that should have been the default, is to copy as RTF. And then occasionally, I actually have when I can hit Control G and it just pastes as plain text. So that's why I was trying to switch my default to RTF. But I'm building in toggle output. Let's see, Control T. So see how I've built in a hotkey so I can just toggle my output. And I can force it to bring up the call types. I can Control Shift U brings up the user properties file, but I actually have a conflicting hotkey with that in another script. The Control Shift G will open the global properties file. This Control Escape is nice because it'll stop executing the script, which in Python I think comes in handy. And F3 ST, I think it does it again, but if I recall, I had to add this because it didn't automatically find again when you hit it or something. So that's walking through some of the hotkeys I've built inside. I'm not using Autohotkey for it, right? This is built in inside SciTE. Now the context menu, here's another great example of how you can customize SciTE. So when I right-click, I'm sure my options look a lot different than yours, right? And so I can create bookmarks. I can go to the next bookmark. I can say view the white space, view end of line, right? And instead of I always have a hard time remembering exactly where those are up here. I think that, no, see it, and this is why I view, here we go, so view white space, but I just built them into view end of line. I built them into my context menu because they're things I use often enough, and I can toggle my line numbers. I haven't used that in a long time. Forgot it was there. Toggle the output window. I figure out why not. Here's a great one. Let me see if I'm trying to think of one. Let's say I had a path in a file. I can highlight it. I can right-click and say Open File of Path. I put in a reminder here not to have quotes, but it automatically opens that file. If that was a URL, it would have navigated to it with my default browser. So that's one I like a lot, especially because often I'm including other files, and just having that to pop it open is just a great option. Having the two of these in a row gives you these double lines. So each one will give you a line break, and then putting two in a row gives me a little bit bigger of a break. Right, so that's how it kind of reminds me. So I have the copy as RTF here. I've added it down here as well. And copy path of this file. This one is awesome. Is I can say like this, copy path of this file, and hit paste, and this gives me the path of whatever file I'm in. So I don't have to go open File Manager and go find where I am. I can just right-click, say copy path of this file, right, and it's basically meaning the file I'm in. Oh, and this is the one, the stop execution. That's the one that'll stop, especially in Python. I would run something I couldn't figure out how to get to stop, and it was very annoying. Yeah, okay, so that was that one. Here are some other ones I've turned off, but I had to do a Google search and highlighted text and some other stuff. I'm not going to I turned them off for a reason, because I just didn't use them that often. My Autohotkey is set up. I have some, I think it was a macro maybe, but if I, let me see, it should work in, I don't think it'll work in here because it doesn't, this is not an actual Autohotkey script. So let me open up my main one, and I'm going to type Oh, I'll just undo it. I'm going to hit Control R. Do I want to save changes? No. And it ran just what I had highlighted, right? So this helps me dynamically write code without having to run the entire script, right? I can just test a couple lines at a time. So I'm going to do that. Message box. So I'm going to highlight both these, hit Control R. Now, unfortunately, they're popping up on my other screen. So there's the first one. Here's the second one, right? It creates a temp folder or file, and then displays it, and then it's done. Down here, I guess it's actually showing you what it did, but I love the ability to do that. Now let me save this. Go back to my user properties file. And these, by the way, these up here, see this 1140, 1141, 1142, that's what, and notice I'll come over it later, but when I highlight a word, it'll show me where also that word is, and I believe it's case sensitive, so it's, yeah, so see search here and search here is not highlighted, especially when I was working in Python, because Python is case sensitive. That was a feature that came really, really handy, because it would drive me nuts. I would be declaring variables and something wouldn't work, but it turns out I had put it uppercase in one and lower in another, and that's helped me spot that a lot. Alright, let's keep plugging along. There's some Python stuff. Open in a browser. Boy. Okay, so here are the plugins I have, which I've got from the forum. So I'm not going to go into those. They are good. Don't get me wrong, but I would just say look at these paths and go look in the site, the main Autohotkey for SciTE window, and see what's running there. What's there? You'll find them. All right, open new window. So I like to be able to have more than one version of SciTE open, right? So if I hit Control-Shift-N, it will open a second instance of SciTE. And sometimes I just want to have them, to be able to be in one, switch to the other, and not have it as a tab, right? Or I have another one that does a window in window, which I thought was pretty awesome, but I was playing with it earlier and it was acting weird, and I just was being lazy and didn't want to get into it. So Control-Shift-N opens this file in a new window, and Alt-Shift-N, Alt-Shift-N actually opens a blank SciTE window, new instance. So both of those I really like having. They come in very handy. And here you can see, here it's passing the path of the file, the current file, to the instance, and this one it just doesn't do that. What is next? I have no idea what I was doing there. Alright, we'll just skip that. And skip that. Alright, here, because I like, you don't need to add this for the most part. However, what I like is having a return. So, like the A tab and A space, I like having an A return, and I think I have an A enter as well, and I put them alphabetically. So I would have thought it would have been right before there, and I don't see it. But that will show the IntelliSense. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if I'm in here and I type, see, the IntelliSense works, and I create a variable. It's in my default, somewhere I include a default list, and it's in there, and that way I don't have to put in the quote /r/in quote or tick marks and stuff. So that basically, I think, is the only reason why I included this here, was that I wanted to have my own ones that that I could use the IntelliSense on. So I don't like the TLDR and especially because the system tray, I like keeping it as small as it possibly can be, and I never used it. So this turns off the icon in your system tray. If if you are editing, like let's say you're web scraping and you're getting page by page and updates your page, you can turn on or off the do you want to reload, the warning about reloading it. So that's what this setting does. This next one, it's nice. I don't think it does it dynamically if I save it, but let's give it a try. No, oh, did it change? That does seem a little smaller. No. Yeah, so if I was to close Autohotkey and save this as 0, these icons would be smaller. I just don't have the best vision anymore, so I like leaving it where I like bigger icons. Here, the next one, you can have it minimized and set it to going to your taskbar. It'll minimize to the system tray, which is down here. And it is, if that's what you want, it's nice to have that option. These affect, here is the margin, so this margin and having it visible or not, that's what these settings are doing, so you can adjust that. And the default width, so if I recall, like the width was wider than I had wanted, and I was kind of wasting some space, so I tightened it up a bit. The, visual flat. Boy, I don't even remember what that is. But the indents are obviously when it has the wrapping on how far it indents the next line. Full screen command used. Okay, so that hides the menus on the full screen. This has to do with this wrap. I have it default off. You can obviously still change it, but this is the default setting, right? So my default is usually off. I just found that most of the time I actually want it off. And at times I like having it on. It just depends what I'm doing. But I change the default to have the wrapping off. Here also, depending on the size of the files you're working with, you can adjust how SciTE, and it talks through the settings. But if you want to use any caching or have a lot of caching, sometimes I open some very large files, and I have enough RAM on my computer that I didn't care. But so I have it at using the whole document. But you can either, depending on your computer, you might want to tweak this to adjust for that. And it tells you here about how much of an increase in both the file size but speed in playing with the files. So it's one you just have to play with. I don't remember what this one was. This is when I had a new window. This is odd because it says that in Vista or newer, you can set it to 1. But if I recall right, like on my laptop, when I set technology to, it does definitely change it. But for some video cards, it ends up flickering. And this is one of those settings that drove me nuts. And I finally figured out that this is the one that was flickering, and so I set it back to 0, and then I was fine. This is a nice setting. If you want to open a file, it'll automatically create a temp directory for it, and you don't have to deal with all that stuff. Also, like that's why if I close this, let's see. Oh, let me go ahead. Well, I'll leave that open. And now if I reopen SciTE, it's of course always going to the other window. It kept track of which files I had open last, and so that's what. Where did it go? Use temp open file to last open. No, that's actually, I have that setting somewhere else. Sorry, but this is the telling it what default directory. So when you go to save it, it'll save and open from the last script or the last directory. This is how big you want a tab to be, and then also if you want to use tabs or not. So in here, this is where you can tell it the filters that you want to have displayed. Like if I hit open, I can. That is controlling what options will be listed here. So I added the stuff with the different text files, and so you can see it's a good example when you have multiple extensions. You can change it, and of course that changes your view, right, of what's in that window. Apparently I don't have any SQL ones there. Text, a couple Autohotkey scripts. But that's how you can control that in here. And here, file patterns, so this is how apparently I did the data. Yeah, down here it says data, and I had to create that. This one took me a little bit to figure out. I had to create it, maybe even both these lines I had to create it, and then I could use it down here in one line. And whether or not you want to use the filter. This, I'm going to skip over this, but because I used to do a fair amount in Python, I haven't done a lot lately, but it allows for using their API where you can actually launch the script and use SciTE for having it display in the output window and everything, which I really liked, and have the IntelliSense and a lot of other stuff. This, if you want the status bar visible, right, you can turn it 1. Most of them, often it's a 0 and a 1, right? So it's either 0 or a 1. When you see a 1, you can configure it that way to it's either 0 or 1. This is if the status bar is visible. What I actually did was inside my one status bar, and here, let's look at the very first one. So if I highlight this, see it says selected 19, so there's 19 characters highlighted, and that's what this selection length, right? This is my status bar, my first one, up to, and then see the 3 pipes, and that's how I know it breaks. And then it inserts the current date, right? So this is the date, current time. What line I'm on, out of how many. So that's this part, line number of line numbers. What column I'm in, the path of the file, and then the last modify date. So I added a lot of stuff in here. Now you can, I forget how exactly it works, but you can create multiple status bars. I don't think it stacks them though, and that's what was odd, was I think it still appended them, and I realized, you know what, I'm just going to build one the way I want it and not get confused of what's there. So I definitely encourage you, once you get, especially this, just highlighting it and going, oh, I need to know how many characters it is. It's a great, easy way to be able to do that without having to have a hotkey or anything. This was something I read from a web page, and I was playing with it. I don't think I ever actually got it to work, so disregard that. This is hard to explain, but if you change this, and let me see if I change it here, virtual space 1 to allow virtual space when, did I turn off the line wrapping? Oh, I reopened it. Duh. 2, okay, so not all 0 and 1, right? But 2 to allow arrow keys, the mouse, and 3 for both. So let's change this to 3, and I'm going to save it, and let me see if I can do this now. So see how now I can click out here? So sometimes you want to be able to click wherever you want. What I didn't like about this is, oh, and it didn't do it there. I thought it was adding spaces when I would do it. But anyway, I played with that for a while. I kind of liked it, and then I reverted back to having it just as 1. I can't remember exactly why, but that is how you control that, which definitely is nice to have that ability, flexibility. The autocomplete of when you're typing, like, it doesn't think this is, it doesn't think it's it's not an Autohotkey script, so it's not going to offer up suggestions. But these are with how many words letters you're going to type before it offers it up. I have it so this output window, when I go to launch something, it'll automatically, so this one tells it to automatically clear the output window, which is convenient, so I don't have to wonder when was the output from a previous one. I have the screen to vertical, I think it's default off, so instead of having it, where is that, vertical split, so you can have it this way, but which isn't bad. It depends, what you're playing with. More often than not, though, I don't have a lot of stuff I want to look at, and so I don't like eating up this space. So by default, I have it down here, and this way I can, look at it this way. I do, by the way, have a function that will, instead of using a message box, you can tell Autohotkey to dump it in this output window, and that's pretty awesome, very convenient. All right, so where was I? Clear, initial hide off, split 0. These are also these are all dealing with the output, so the magnification and scroll and other things with that, and setting the wrap to 1. So I do have the wrap on in the output window, but not in my, I forget what window this is called, the editor window, I don't know. And then this is both 6501 is UTF-8 for encoding, and I wanted that to be the default for both of those. This save session, this is the one, I believe. Yeah, so the last session will be stored automatically. So when I close this is the setting that tells it, where did it go? Sorry, here. To reopen the files that were last open, which, you know, it's surprising how often that actually is the right value. You know, you want to play with the file you just worked on. And then if you want to have bookmarks and folds, I don't use them that often, but you can insert a bookmark and then save them. The trick is you have to go back and reload them after you've closed it. And so I haven't, even though I know programmatically I could save that somewhere and then re-import it, because it stays with the file, but it's not in the file. So you'd have to tell Scite to go import the bookmarks. But then you could jump around to sections you use a lot. The folds in here, when you have sections like this, where'd it go? Here, all right, these are the folds, and you can have it remember if those are open or closed as well. This, I think the default's been changed back to not use this right, but when I hit Control F, right, it comes up with this, not, and I think this one does actually change. If I put this to a 1 and save it, and now I hit Control, nope, I'd have to close it and reload it. So some settings are like hot settings, they happen without reloading, and some of them don't. Oh, you find, you strip, oh, replace you strip. So both of those, they end up down here, which in some ways is nice, because the one thing I don't like about this Control F is it doesn't move out of the way when it's over the word. However, it's just kind of small to me, and I didn't get used to it having it in one spot, and so I like having it up here. You can also configure on those things. Hit Control H on the defaults of what's selected, and actually, you know what? Transform backslash. See, I do this so often. I wonder. Huh? I don't see it listed here. I would have thought I could have put the transform replace thing, set that to always be on. But anyway, we'll keep going. And this talks about the. Oh, so I think this is my current word indicator. Yeah. So when I highlight when I'm in this word, it'll show me everywhere else where it finds that word, and then the setting after or before it actually is affects the color, right, of how it's shown. So that is, I love that setting, especially because it's case sensitive, and that for me helped me a lot. Apparently you can even have styles in here and limit it to certain things. I don't play with that. So this, when you hit here, let me see, find what and replace it. So if I hit Control H and I had that word, see how it's selected? It automatically puts it in there. Some people find that annoying, but I like, at least you have the flexibility, right? I use it a lot. Save recent, use the list. So I can't remember the most recently used files. Oh, okay, the most recently used files list, right? So in here, I wish I could tell it to say the last 20, right? Maybe that is a setting somewhere. I would love that. Reload, preserves, undo. Oh, this is pretty cool, right? So even if you've saved it, I think you can still undo stuff, right, from history, which is very nice. And this, if you had, when you're down to 1 and you hit close, it'll close SciTE entirely, and so that's a nice thing to be able to play with. I'm not going to go through. I found the configuring of the fonts and background and foreground and everything, because there's also this window and this window, confusing, but this is what I have it on. So I'm not going to go into that. You can play with that. Just make sure you, first thing I should have said at the very beginning of this video is back up your entire file and keep it handy, and back up and email it to yourself to have a static one so you don't overwrite it and then scream at me for, you know, monkeying with it and can't get it back. If you want to have it start at a certain zoom level, this is how you can configure it. Especially on my laptop, it was really hard, so I had it higher, but I ended up just changing the resolution of my laptop, and that took care of it overall, so I don't do that anymore. When you get down to just one window, so if I close my other window, oh, and I didn't, let me see if that, there it goes. So when I just have one, it gets rid of the tabs entirely, right? I like having the tabs there regardless, so that's what configures that. so I mentioned earlier that anti-aliasing setting, and it said something about, what was it, if greater than, not XP, what was it, Vista. It might have been this one also. I should put these things next to each other. One of them was the one that was, I remember this anti-aliasing stuff. It's what was giving me that flickering stuff, and so it might have been this one that was that setting. But I would say try both of them and see what works and what doesn't. These are just some other settings that I've turned off. This matching braces in color, so this has to do when I'm trying to think if I have any of this other stuff. It's going to have braces, but we'll just, oh, here we go. So see how when I click here and it highlights that, that's the matching braces, right? So it shows you, and I forget the default color was like a light color, and I couldn't see it very well, so I adjusted my my settings for that. And then automatic opening and then closing. For the life of me, I don't remember what that was, and I wish I had. Usually I put in the notes and stuff. I should go look that up. Here, and actually I think this will work anywhere. Let me try. Oh, let me go like this. BD. Nope. Okay. I'm going to create a new. Save as hi. All files. Like. Oh, here we go. HTML. And now, see how it automatically wrote my closing tag for me? That obviously, if you do a lot of HTML, can be very handy. Of course, it can also be very frustrating, just depending on your perspective. But that is what this setting does. It says XML, but it works for both XML and HTML. This is a nice one if you have a very large, if you sometimes work with large files and go to open a file by accident. I think this is 20 megs. 20, yeah, probably. It'll ask me before I open it, "Are you sure, idiot, that you want to open that?" And so I set it at a pretty high threshold because I have a lot of RAM. But sometimes I accidentally open something and SciTE will crash. But it takes a big file. You can still open really big files in SciTE. I love it. This title full path too. This is how you can configure it up in here in the title bar, and here it walks through what the settings are. You know what? Let me. Whoa, hey. 1, 2. There we go. So full path is display with 1. Let me see if that's a hot thing. 1. Yeah. So see how it tweaked it up here, but I had it set as 2, and so it the file and or you can just have the file name. So I have it set up with the file name and then tells me in what directory. So that's what that is. This is a configuration. You can tell it to stop asking you if you didn't save the set. You know, if you've made a change, but you can have it disable the warning if you don't save it before you exit, and also before you launch. Are you sure you want to build it? Error select line. This, I believe, helps with the error reporting and to understanding where the error is. Title bar set to one shows current buffer. Oh. No. Oh, yeah. Buffers example 1 of 4. That's what it is. So see how it says 1 of 3? I have 3 files open, and that's what this thing is configuring. Let's see if that is a live. Yeah. There we go. So that can help you. Obviously, you can count this, but it's nice to be able to just spot check it. The streams. I don't remember what that is. So again, I'm configuring. Oh, so here's where I turn on the type of regex search, and I have a video talking through how to do some great stuff in SciTE search and replace stuff. And it was much easier for me to use this POSIX setting, so I turned that on. And here, oh, I turned on some of the find and replace escapes, wrap, regex, escapes. Where? See, I would have thought line breaks should have been in there. And I think this probably is up above somewhere, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Find close on find. Find close on find equals 0. Prevents find box from closing if it doesn't. Oh, interesting. All right. Find replace with focus. And warning not found. So I think you'll be able to hear this. But let's say I come in here and I search for something that's not there.
Inconceivable!
So I get an audio. I don't know if you heard the inconceivable. This audio gets played, which it's just it's playing around, but it is nice. Highlight color when marking. Oh, so let's say I was find, and I'm going to find all, mark all. And so I think it has to do with this bullet, little blue bullet here. That is what that very last setting is monkeying with. Yeah, round box, color, underline. I bet you that's what. Oh, no. Now that well, maybe it is. Maybe it's both. So there's maybe the color, but I think that color is actually this part because I remember. It would mark it, but I couldn't see where it was that the word was, and especially in a line like this, and it's one line, and it was like somewhere in there, and I'm like, well, where in the world is it? And so I adjusted that setting to where now it's easy to see. So, sorry, that was 37 minutes of going through my SciTE file, but as you can see, I've configured a lot of stuff in here, which of course, you tweak it to what you like. Right, and that's the beauty to me of both Autohotkey and SciTE, is you configure it to the stuff that you like, and you don't worry, about the defaults. Thank you.